Good morning. I'm Brent Adams here with your Rural Strong Morning Ag Report for this Tuesday, November 7th, the 311th day of 2023. Leading off the headlines this morning, the 2023-2024 National FFA Officer Team was elected during the final session of the 96th Annual FFA Convention in Indianapolis. The new officer team was picked from 35 candidates and will lead the organization during the next year. Amara Jackson of Michigan is the new national president, and Grant Norfleet of Missouri is the national secretary. FFA's Central Region Vice President is Iowa's Canyon Huntington. Other regional vice presidents come from Florida, Ohio, and New Mexico. Each year during the national convention, 6 student members are elected by delegates to represent the organization as national officers. Through their year of service, the officers will interact with business and industry leaders, thousands of FFA members and teachers, corporate sponsors, government officials, education officials, the general public, and others. The team will also lead personal growth and leadership training conferences for FFA members throughout the country and set policies that help guide the future of the FFA and its members. Well, stop me if you've heard this one before, but the federal government is about to run out of money again with a shutdown cliff next week and a farm bill extension hanging in the balance. Another stopgap funding bill by the 17th would be the likely vehicle to extend the already expired farm bill. But new House Speaker Mike Johnson told Fox News on Sunday that he'll fight for non-traditional stopgap measures instead of continued level funding.
What we call on Capitol Hill a continuing resolution now, and what we've dealt with in years past, is that this would allow us time, and everybody understands, allow us time to continue this appropriations process. We're committed to bringing 12 bills to the floor as the law, statutory law requires Congress to do. That hasn't been done in many years.
And do so, Johnson has proposed, with a possible laddered approach of multiple deadlines as annual spending bills are passed, which is unlikely to win Senate support. Without a short-term deal, a farm bill extension will languish. Top House Ag Democrat David Scott has now called for a one-year extension, matching similar calls by Senate Ag leaders and resistance to more limits on SNAP.
We stand united against any efforts to take food away from children, families, or any vulnerable American in this farm bill or any legislation.
Republicans have also dug in. House Ag Chair Glenn G.T. Thompson.
Let's move from states going out of their way to keep employable individuals idle and disengaged and spend more time fostering connections with employers and education providers.
With no time left for a new farm bill this year and a perilous fight over a routine stopgap bill and farm law extension, the next 10 days will be critical in determining the direction of farm and other policies. Well, with Veterans Day coming up on Saturday, we take a look at veterans making the transition into agriculture. One of the duties of the USDA's Military Veterans Agricultural Liaison is connecting veterans with potential career opportunities within the U.S. Department of Agriculture and other federal agencies. More from USDA Radio's Rod Bain.
Connecting veterans with careers within the federal government and U.S. Department of Agriculture. That is one of the many duties for Munshi Ramdas, USDA's Military Veterans Agricultural Liaison.
Connecting veterans with paid apprenticeship through USDA and the Department of Defense's Skill Bridge program, and working with the Department of Veterans Affairs, helping veterans to gain valuable civilian work experience through non-paid internships with USDA agencies.
In addition, through the Skill Bridge program,
military veterans can also enter into internships on farms across America through this program called Arm to Farm, which is offered by a nonprofit that we work with known as ATRA across 45 states in America, collaborating with farms in those states.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
Well, uncertain global grain market developments pose major challenges to analysts trying to forecast market prospects. Here with that story is USDA Radio's Gary Crawford.
There's always new data to comb through, new issues to try to figure out, and this month is no exception.
USDA Outlook Board Chairman Mark Jekanowski talking about this Thursday's new round of forecasts for crop supplies, exports, domestic use, stocks, and prices, which Mark says could be affected by a range of uncertain issues, such as recently
a pretty strong surge in U.S. exports of soybean meal, and that has supported the markets for soybean meal and therefore also, the prices of soybeans to some degree.
But will that continue? And if so, to what extent? Also, experts are watching crop conditions in South America. And meanwhile, in another part of the world,
There's still continues to be a lot of uncertainty with regard to Ukraine's ability to export.
we'll get USDA's latest take on all of this Thursday noon Eastern Time. Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
The weather has been generally good for corn and soybean harvesting. Here with those details again is Gary Crawford.
Corn and soybean producers are coming off what most would call
a pretty good week for corn and soybean harvesting, not just in the Midwest, but on into the Southeast as well.
USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey says as of this past Sunday, the 5th,
81% of the U.S. corn acreage harvested on that date. That is 4 percentage points ahead of the 5-year average of 77%.
but also 4% behind this time a year ago. Still, growers in several states cranked it up and brought in at least 10% of their crop during this past week. That list includes
Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, Minnesota, North Dakota, Ohio, South Dakota, and Wisconsin. So spread across a broad area all the way from the Great Plains to the Eastern Corn Belt.
Meanwhile, the soybean harvest,
91% complete by November 5th. That is 5 points ahead of the 5-year average of 86%.
but still behind last year's 93%. Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
And finally, this morning, the election cycle for USDA Farm Service Agency County Committee seats is now taking place through December 4th. Here one final time is USDA Radio's Rod Bain.
Ballots arrive this week for eligible voters in USDA Farm Service Agency County Committee elections.
There's about 7,700 producers nationwide that serve on more than 2,200 county committees. County committees are comprised from 3 to 11 elected members from their local administrative areas, and each member will serve a 3-year term.
FSA Administrator Zach Ducheneau says voters have until December 4th to turn in their ballots to their local FSA offices, either by mail or in person.
Once elected, the county committees will come together. New members will be oriented to the position, and they will go right to work after the first of the year, serving their local producers in the delivery of policy and programs at the Farm Service Agency.
For more information about FSA county committees or the county committee nomination and election process,
you can find a lot of that information at fsa.usda.gov/elections. You can also stop in at your local office.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
Well, you can keep up with the latest from the world of agriculture by subscribing to the Tractors and Troubadours podcast from Rural Strong Media. Each week, I bring you agriculture industry newsmakers, hot button industry issues, educational features, and the best in traditional country music. The Tractors and Troubadours podcast can be found at ruralstrongmedia.com or wherever you get your podcasts. We also invite you to join us daily on Rural Strong Radio, our 24/7 streaming radio station, found at ruralstrongmedia.com or on the Live 365 streaming radio app for your mobile device. Each day, we bring you our award-winning agriculture programming, as well as the best in traditional country music, mixed in with a little bluegrass, western swing, southern rock, and inspirational music. Again, the place to find Rural Strong Radio is ruralstrongmedia.com or the Live 365 streaming radio app. We're portable, so take us with you everywhere you go this harvest season. We'll get you through those long, challenging days this fall. Well, just a quick programming note. I'll be traveling the rest of this week and won't have another Rural Strong Morning Ag Report. Next week, I'll be at the National Association of Farm Broadcasting Annual Convention in Kansas City, and we'll bring you some reports from there, so stay tuned. Thanks much for watching, and have a great day, everybody.